When people think about military history, they usually focus on weapons, strategy, and famous commanders. Yet one of the most important factors in a soldier's effectiveness was often far less dramatic: staying dry. Rain, snow, and damp conditions have disrupted military operations for centuries. Long before synthetic waterproof materials existed, armies understood that exposure to the elements could weaken troops, damage equipment, and reduce endurance. A soldier struggling against cold and wet conditions was less capable of marching, working, or fighting effectively. One of the most overlooked solutions to this problem was wax cloth. By treating fabric with oils and waxes, soldiers gained a level of weather protection that helped them endure conditions that might otherwise have crippled entire units. The technology first proved itself at sea. The origins of waxed cloth lie with sailors. Constant exposure to sea spray and storms made ordinary clothing inadequate for life aboard ships. Mariners experimented with oils, tar-based coatings, and wax treatments to create garments that resisted water. These early waterproofing methods were not perfect. The fabric could become stiff and heavy, but it offered valuable protection from moisture and wind. Most importantly, it helped sailors stay functional during prolonged exposure to harsh weather. Military organizations eventually adopted similar ideas. As armies operated in increasingly difficult environments, weather-resistant fabrics began appearing in tents, packs, equipment covers, and protective clothing. Armies discovered that weather could be as dangerous as the enemy. During 19th-century campaigns, soldiers often spent weeks marching through mud, rain, and cold temperatures. Under these conditions, keeping equipment and clothing dry became a constant challenge. Wet uniforms increased heat loss. Leather gear deteriorated more quickly. Supplies became harder to protect. Fatigue accumulated faster. Even when armies avoided combat, weather could steadily reduce their effectiveness. Wax-treated fabrics helped limit these problems. They did not make soldiers immune to harsh conditions, but they reduced exposure enough to preserve energy and improve endurance. Military planners gradually recognized that environmental protection was not simply a matter of comfort. It was an operational advantage. Small improvements created major results. One of the most important lessons from military history is that success often depends on small practical innovations. A slightly drier soldier sleeps better. Better rest improves performance. Better performance increases a unit's ability to complete its mission. These effects accumulate across hundreds or thousands of troops. Historical armies repeatedly learned that seemingly minor improvements in clothing, shelter, and equipment could produce significant advantages over time. That principle remains relevant today. Modern outdoor and survival gear continues to build upon many of the same ideas developed generations ago. For example, products such as the Otter Wax heavy-duty fabric wax bar use natural waxes to help protect canvas jackets, bags, and field equipment from moisture. While modern materials are more refined, the basic concept is remarkably similar to the methods used by sailors, explorers, and soldiers in earlier centuries. Industrial warfare increased the importance of weather protection. The 20th century placed soldiers in some of the harshest environments imaginable. From muddy trenches to mountain campaigns, exposure to moisture remained a constant challenge. Military engineers responded by developing improved treated fabrics, better shelter systems, and more durable field equipment. These advances were not glamorous, but they helped maintain readiness during extended operations. Environmental exposure creates a chain reaction. Damp equipment becomes heavier. Clothing loses effectiveness. Troops tire more quickly. Supply systems face greater strain. Reducing these problems allowed armies to preserve strength over longer periods. As a result, weather protection became an increasingly important part of military planning and logistics. The legacy of waxed cloth still matters. The story of waxed cloth is ultimately a story about adaptation. Faced with a persistent problem, generations of sailors and soldiers developed practical solutions using the materials available to them. Their efforts remind us that survival often depends less on dramatic inventions than on understanding everyday challenges and preparing for them effectively. When we look beyond famous battles and commanders, we find countless innovations that quietly shaped history. Waxed fabric was one of them. It helped protect soldiers, preserve equipment, and improve endurance when nature threatened to become an enemy of its own. Understanding these overlooked technologies gives us a deeper appreciation for how armies actually functioned and survived. It also highlights lessons that remain relevant today, whether in military operations, outdoor travel, or emergency preparedness. If you enjoyed this exploration of history's hidden innovations, subscribe to History Vault for more stories about the overlooked technologies and fieldcraft that shaped the past. And if you found this video valuable, share it with someone who appreciates the details behind history's biggest events.